Do we only have stories about the fairy trees in Ireland? Well, Dagdy Buckus Fulcher. Hi, hello, and welcome, John O'Sullivan, the Irish Pagan School. And Nianza, not hard to say, we don't only have stories, we actually have songs. And this is something I found recently myself in my own studies going through the National Folklore Collection, because there's a reference in one of those folklore stories about a song that was written and recorded based on the folklore of that fairy tree. And so what I'm going to do is I'm not actually going to just talk about it. I'm going to share it with you. I'm going to show you this information. So this should bring up a screen here now, which shows you what it looks like in the National Folklore Collection, in the schools collection. So I am on duchas.ie, which is the main database for it. Under the collections, I've gone to the schools collection and I'm searching through information about fairy trees, and I came across this particular extract. This is an image of what was actually written down. So for those of you who don't know, the schools collection was done between 1937 and 1939, and it was in association with the Teachers Union in Ireland, the Board of Education, and the Folklore Archive, the National Archives. And they sent home children from 5,000 schools across the 26 counties of the Free State at the time to capture stories from their locality, from old people, from the elders in their family, or just in their neighborhoods. And so over like 5,000 schools, it was like nearly 50,000 children, and that section of the archive itself includes 740,000 manuscripts or entries like this. So this person has really, really good handwriting, but because it was archived in a digital format, volunteer work has been done, people going in, logging in to do the transcriptions of it. And that's why on the side there we have the transcription available as well. So the story of this particular fairy tree says in the vicinity of Clogheen, in the townland of Kilcaroon, an old white-thorned tree stands alone overlooking the main road from Clogheen to Ballyporeen. It is known locally as the fairy tree. Tradition maintains that long ago men were hanged from its branches and buried at its roots, and further tradition asserts that these men were sworn before execution to guard during all time the treasure deposited there by the fleeing Danes from the onward and victorious march of Brian Boru's army. At night, young and old people would not go near this tree, lest they would encounter the fairy folk who guard its treasure. Quite recently, the legend associated with it has acquired almost international fame owing from the song known as the Fairy Tree of Clogheen, composed by a well-known author and sung by the famous tenor Count John McCormack to American and British audiences. So this record is absolutely fantastic and it's amazing. It talks about the localities, it gives the specifics of the type of tree, because it wasn't just any old regular trees. Most commonly fairy trees are known to be skech or skeech, depending on which way you pronounce it, which is an Irish word for the blackthorns or the whitethorn trees. Interesting for this one though, it doesn't stand alone in a field, or it is not atop a fairy mound. This one is beside the road, and it said that people going past it would not look at it. So the stories of this connected not just with the landscape, not with the territory, but also the mythology and the history of Ireland coming through for the famous King Brian Boru, who was one of the few to be able to conquer all of the other territories in Ireland, because kingship in Ireland wasn't just there was one high king and that was it. All Tuatha or tribes or tribal lands had their own king or chieftain, and then those would have certain arrangements or vassal relations or blood relations with other tribes or chieftains. And so there were very few who actually dominated, conquered, took hostages, negotiated, or paid off enough of those other chieftains to consider themselves Ard Rí or High King in Ireland. Brian Boru was one of the last few, which all came apart for him a few years later when his conquest was complete, when he took the last of the outstanding tribes, the Ullad in the north of the island. He got them to swear fealty to him, But then a few years later, he had a conflict at the Battle of Clontarf just outside Dublin, which went very badly for him. In that his Taoiseach, which is the Irish word used in politics now, but it's actually his heir apparent, or the person who is most likely to step in, his son, and Taoiseach was slain in that battle. And that kind of sets the unraveling of everything Brian had spent most of his lifetime building. So this has an interesting kind of connection to the history as well. It talks about how the lore of the history in that territory is linked with those kings and then linked back with also this fairy tree in this area. What is most entertaining about this particular story is the fact that there is this song. It's now been moved in beyond the media of story and local lore. It made it into local song. And I was curious. I was absolutely wondering, and I went looking and I found it. And so I will put a link down below to an amazing YouTuber who has posted it. Irish Mike is their channel. I don't know them, but I'm delighted to have come across it because there's a recording of John McCormack singing this song. It was recorded in December 1930, and I will post a link to that below if you'd want to go over and hear what he sings about the fairy tree of Clogheen. So, with that, I will say thank you very much for stopping by. I really appreciate you being part of our community. And this is what it's like. We go into the archives, we find those stories. If you actually go in and just search, as I had, duchas.ie, go into the school's collection and put in the words fairy tree, there's 554 responses. If you put in other words, searching for folklore, you can search for Samhain, and that will bring you up more information. It's a great, great way to see what was recorded on coming up on 100 years now ago from the communities in Ireland by the children of Ireland who are sent home to engage in this practice. So if you want to know more about it, again, ducas.ie, go in and do some studying on it. I invite you to explore it to your own interests as well. If you'd like to know more from us at the Irish Pagan School, all you gotta do is go to irishpaganschool.com. We have loads of teaching and classes available. If you can't take a class, watch more in the YouTube, check out our podcast, or go to irishpagan.school/free for a year's worth of free teaching, courses, podcasts, videos, blogs. There's a whole lot of stuff that you can immerse yourself in and find out more that can lead you on your own exploration about your culture, the mythology of Ireland, ancestry, and spirituality, if you are so inclined. So until next time, look after yourself, take care, agus slán. Goodbye.